Hi and welcome back. In this video we're going to compare the Godox X Pro 2 radio controller to the older version, the X Pro 1. So first let's have a look at what's different about the body of this controller, and also have to mention this. Look how much fancier the box of the X Pro 2 is compared to that of the X Pro 1. It's like Godox is trying to say this transmitter is more premium versus the cheap plastic the older one comes in and the box, which makes you want to throw it away the moment you see it. So looking at the body, we can notice that it's a little bit larger. It stretches forward a bit and to the left. All the buttons are slightly larger as well, with the exception of the bottom row. The text is on the button itself rather than on the body of the transmitter. And why is this important? Well, the buttons are now lit, which means that when the LCD backlight turns on, so do the buttons, so we can read the text on the buttons in the dark. The only exception to this upgrade is the scroll wheel and the confirmation or OK button in the center. Now, in case you're wondering, the old transmitter had light on the left column and the bottom row, but they were so dim they were almost impossible to see compared to the newer one in the dark. The other thing you'll notice is that the newer version is not as tall as the previous one. That's because its foot is shorter, which is also why they had to notch the battery cover as clearance for the autofocus assist lamp. There's a change on the locking system too. They have now changed it to this quick lock unlock system, similar to the one you would find on the Godox V1. And the last two things that I noticed about the body, the side flap is missing on the new one, and these switches are a bit larger and they feel more sturdy. Oh, and I forgot to mention about the buttons. They feel more clicky and they have a better tactile feedback on the newer one. Okay, now let's head to the menu. The interface style has changed from a list to a tile design, which probably allows you to navigate faster through the menu once you learn it. But I also like how the sub option was shown with all the menu style. So first let's have a look at everything that can be found both on the old and the new controller. And then I'll list down everything that is new and can only be found on the second version of the controller. So these are the things that can be found on both, and I will also explain them. The first one is standby, and standby can, like I said, can be accessed on both. However, on the new one, we can select the time length after which standby to kick in, compared to the older one where we can only turn it on or off. By the way, the old one goes in standby after 90 seconds of inactivity. The beep or the buzzer is self-explanatory. It will let us know when the capacitors are recharged and ready to trigger again on our flashes, and can be set both on or off on either of the controllers. Steps is an option that allows us to choose a minimal power level depending on the lights we're using, because different lights have different minimal power levels. And it allows us to choose the increments while going through the power range from full power to minimal power depending on what we are shooting. Because sometimes we need fine power adjustment, but sometimes we do not. So let's say on a group A we have the AD600 Pro, and on group B we have the V1. In this case, we have to set the minimal power level to 1/512. By the way, I like to keep my power settings increments in thirds. So now when we adjust the power level from the main screen, if we set them both to 1/512, the V1 will still shoot at its minimal power level, which is 1/256. But if we don't set this in the menu, we can now bring it all the way down to 1/512 when we need it for the AD600 Pro. We also have the option to set the power level in whole numbers rather than in fractional. So we can have the power ranging from 1 to 10, 2 to 10, or 3 to 10, each with corresponding increments. So in essence, we set the minimal power level depending on the light and the increments depending on our preference. So when we adjust the power level, we can fine tune it to perfection. So Godox gives us a lot of flexibility in this regard. Next is light, and this setting will allow us to turn the backlight on our LCD either always on, always off, or to turn off after 12 seconds. Next one is PC sync, and this can be set either in or out, whether we want to receive or send signal. Okay, next one is groups. Here we can change the group style to be from A to E or from 0 to 16. LCD allows us to amend the contrast on our LCD, and I always keep it at +3. In my opinion, that looks best. The next one is shoot. And shoot allows us to choose between single shooting mode, multi-user shooting mode, or app. In the app, the old controller sends the syncing signal, but the parameters can be controlled from an app. Although I'm not sure how you would connect to an app on the older controller. This last option has been replaced on the new controller by L858 mode, which I will explain later in the video. Next is distance, and the distance range can be set from 0 to 30 or from 1 to 100. And I think the only time the 0 to 30 would be useful is when shooting macro and we need the flash really close. Otherwise, it should be left to the default range, which is 1 to 100. Next is ID, and setting an ID on your flashes and transmitter is a good idea because it will not allow anyone else to trigger your lights, even if they're using the same channel and group, which is useful for places where there are other people shooting Godox lights and can be set from 1 to 99. The next option is TCM, and TCM is an acronym meaning TTL converted to manual. This will allow you to take a picture in TTL and convert that power level to a manual value based on the camera's metering. This is useful because it gives you a start point from where you can fine tune your power level if you want to shoot manually. And the last menu option is autofocus. And in autofocus, we can choose either DSLR or mirrorless, and choosing the right camera will ensure the autofocus assist lamp works correctly. Now let's have a look at everything that's new about the Godox X Pro 2 controller and cannot be found on the X Pro 1. Number one is Bluetooth, and this allows us to connect to a mobile app from which we can do quite a few things, but I will explain them later in the video. The second option that can only be found on the X Pro 2 is User, and this option allows us to save up to 5 presets. Very useful in my opinion if you're doing repetitive work in the studio but with different light setups, and also if you're working in a team. Next is Clear, and this option will clear all the changes that have been made to the menu to default. The difference between Clear and Reset is that Clear will only erase the menu, whereas Reset will erase everything that was changed on the controller. By the way, if you want to erase everything on the controller to factory default, you can do so by pressing these two buttons together. Delay is an option that allows us to finally adjust the sync between the shutter and the flash when using HyperSync, and it can be adjusted from 0.1 millisecond to 9.9 milliseconds. Next is Legacy Hot Shoe, and basically this allows your radio controller to work in manual mode using only the center pin to send signal to the camera, which makes it compatible with all the Sony cameras that do not benefit from the multi-interface Hot Shoe. If Legacy is enabled, you don't have TTL and high-speed sync, and Godox claims that having Legacy turned on gives you a better performance for burst shoots because the signal travels faster and the camera doesn't need to do the high-speed sync and TTL calculations. Next one is Trigger Shutter. This changes your test mode from trigger to shutter, and you do want to keep it a trigger unless you're using it with an X1 receiver, which can remotely fire the shutter of your camera. And I suppose this may work if you're connected to the camera via PC Sync, but I have not tested, so I'm not entirely sure. I'm just assuming that it may be a possibility, it may work. Next one is Scan, and this will allow you to scan for the most stable channels with the least amount of interference. Another thing that is different about the new controller, stroboscopy can now be found in the menu as well as on the main screen, compared to the older one on which we can only find it on the main screen. And the last thing that is different about the new controller is the L858 shooting mode, and this allows your radio controller to connect to the Sekonic L858 light meter, provided the Godox module is fitted inside a meter. This will give the Sekonic control over the parameters of the X Pro, while the X Pro will only send the syncing signal. While on the main screen, there are a few things that are different as well. Number one is the ability to change channel has now moved to the menu on the new controller. On the previous one, you could do it from the main screen. The second thing that's different, now we can double tap to turn a group on or off, which is very useful. On the older one, you had to select it and then toggle between modes to turn it off. Not much harder, but a bit slower. And the third thing that is different, now we can finally adjust the modeling lamp power, whereas on the older one, we could only turn it on or off. So we could either have it in prop, which is proportional to the output power of the strobe. We can have it at 50%, or we can choose the percentage ourselves. Okay, connecting to the app requires an app on your phone or tablet, and the app is called Godox Flash and can be found for both Android and iOS devices. Once you open the app, it will ask you to log into your Godox account, and if you don't have one, you need to create an account, after which you can turn Bluetooth both on the controller and the mobile device. Tap a search within the mobile app, and once you found the device, the password is set to 6 zeros as standard. When you're connected, you can add, remove groups, turn them on or off, change the output, and you can update the firmware and find answers to certain questions in the app. All the other specs have remained the same on both controllers. So that is it for this video. Hopefully you found it useful. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care now.